Thank you, Fuad, for inviting me to this nice workshop. You don't have anything to learn from me. We have to learn together. I will tell you about the experience we are living. We are in full learning session. We learn every day new things. So I will tell you about our experience and the context in which we are living this uh, particular experience after COVID. Do, do you hear me well?
Yes,
Yes,
very
yes.
well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So can I share a presentation or not?
You can, yeah, absolutely you can. Yeah.
So my presentation will be mainly about the COVID experience we have living in our university. What is the COVID experience will be focused on the new experience of digital transition we have encountered since 1 year, since March 2020. And this concern mainly face-to-face teaching, but also face-to-face research. So I will tell you a little bit about the impact of COVID and digital transition in our daily practice. And I will focus it on our domain, which is communication and information sciences, the impact of the, the communication and information process in our area. So I'm teaching at the Department of Digital Humanities at the University Paris 8. Digital Humanities is a department in the Faculty of Sciences and Digital Technology that I am the dean since 1 year. So our university, Paris 8, is mainly a university in arts, human sciences, and we have two faculties of sciences. So we are about 24,000 students. We have 11 faculties and 5 institutions. Within this institution, we have a distant learning institute. It's a very traditional institute, which is very important. About 3,500 students are following this institute. In this institution, we have 2 main domains, psychology and computer sciences. We have 4 doctorate schools at the university. We have 36 research units. And as I said at the beginning, our disciplines are arts, economy and management, humanities, social sciences, law, letters and language. And we have the what we call sciences, technology and health, and our faculty is within them. So our situation is very atypical. Paris 8 universities is a kind of experimental university since the first time it exists after 1968. So it's a very atypical university. And we are in the domain of information and communication sciences, but we belong to the Faculty of Sciences, which is atypical in France. The Department of Digital Humanities is part of this faculty. So our Faculty of Sciences and Digital Technology is about 5 departments. The departments to which I belong is Digital Humanities. We have 2 departments in computer sciences. The first one is Programming and Fundamental Informatics, and the second one is Informatics and Artificial Intelligence. The first department is mainly focused on bachelor, and the second department focused on masters. So we have 2 bachelor and 2 masters in informatics. Then we have a department of information sciences. Information sciences is a department also in human science and social sciences. And we have a department of mathematics and history of sciences. The digital humanities department is pluridisciplinary.
موجودة، خليها تعمل لنا فنجان قهوة. إذا موجودة واحدة
على راسي على راسي. فنجانين فنجانين الله يخليك.
Sorry for that. Sorry.
No, we were talking.
انت دكتوره بس افتح المايك عن البروفيسور، عملت ميوت اول.
دكتور خلدون ان ميوت بس اشوف البارتيسيبنت. Sorry.
I didn't touch anything. You muted me.
When you mute. Sorry.
So in the digital humanities department, we have people from information sciences, but we have people from computer sciences. We have people coming from robotics. We have some few people coming from arts and social sciences. And we have a master in digital humanities, in which we have 5 specialties, different specialties focused on hypermedia and internet technology and Internet of Things. In our faculty, we have 3 research labs, a multidisciplinary research labs in computer, information sciences and in psychology and in informatics. We call it lab Paragraph. So the lab I'm heading since a year also. We have a unit research in artificial intelligence and programming, many in computer science and software engineering, LIAST. And we have an important lab, which LAGA is a laboratory in mathematics and cybersecurity. In our faculty, we are about 1,000 students, and we have huge faculties. We have 16 full professors and 48 associate professors. We have 15 administrative and technical staff members. I give you all this information to explicit for you the complexity of this digital transition we are living since 1 year. So you have all these departments, all this lab, all the student, all professor, they are shifting completely in the same, in very short time. So our lab, Paragraph, I will talk a little bit more about it at the end of the presentation if you do have some question about it. Paragraph started in 1983, so it's about 40 years old. It started with the hypertext. So it's a professor in literature discovered the hypertext and established a research lab with people from informatics and computer science to talk about hypermedia. So it was in 1983. So we are specialists in information communication sciences, but also in informatics. And we have 3 teams in psychology, in cognitive psychology, in ergonomy, and in education. Our lab belongs to 2 different universities, University of Paris 8, but also we have a huge research team specialist in teaching and learning process, which is in CY Sergi Paris University. So this complexity is increased with this double establishment. In our lab, Paragraph, not faculty, we are about 57 full-time researchers, about 17 professors, and 40 associate professors. So what I forget to say, our lab belongs to the faculty of informatics, of science and digital technology at Paris 8, belongs to the Faculty of Psychology at the University of Paris 8, and belongs to the Institution of Teaching and Education Sciences at the University of CY Surgery. So for this reason, we have about 17 professors and 40 associate professors. We have about 55 PhD candidates. So it's the context in which we are working. So I will come back at the end of the conference if you have some question about the lab. We have 6 axes of research, 6 groups. The group to which I belong, I can talk a little bit more at the end, is the post-digital information design and innovation, call it C2. We have another group, it's more related to Internet of Things, it's digital dispositive. We have the group which at CY University is doing research about learning, development, and cognition. We have the group of people from ergonomy and psychology. They are working on creativity, design, competency, and their use. We have a very special psychologist group working on emotion, sentiment, senses, and a typical human development study. And we have a group focused on information sciences and working on the question of mediation and informational practices in heritage. So we discovered what is university when last year in March, we have to lock down and we have to start teaching in different way. We are in the context quite different. We can't anymore do face-to-face teaching. Donc, we can't communicate with students, with colleagues in the same way. We can't inform people with the same way. However, we discovered that our university is a very, very special system that mainly designed to manage information and communication in the practice of teaching and research. So this system is completely oriented or driven face-to-face information and communication protocol. Everything done that we meet people, go to the dean office, going to the rector office, come in the classroom, talk to the students, go to the cafeteria to talk with students. So teaching was 100% face-to-face, unless our Institute of Distance Learning, they don't have face-to-face. But the way they do their teaching was in a complete distant learning philosophy, and they manage time and space in a very different way. So they didn't have to change anything in their practice, but they have their own design and management of time and space that we don't have when we do face-to-face teaching. Student assessment was face-to-face. All the administrative question was face-to-face, in which students, academic staff, and administrative staff are concerned. All decision-making, all the council of our university, administrative councils, scientific, academic councils, all decision and discussion were before face-to-face information and communication protocols. However, we use a lot of digital tools. We have our laptop, we have our tablet, we have our phones, we send emails, but decision and many information have to be repeated in face-to-face. Donc, we were not against digital tools. We have digital tools. Also, in our university, we realized that students, academic and administrative staff that collaborate together to give life to the system of the university, they have their own spaces and their own way to manage their time. Administrative and student can communicate, but there are special places to communicate and very fixed time between 9 and 12, between 14 and 17 in the afternoon. There's no communication always. It's the same case for administrative and academic. It's either for communication and interaction between academic and students. So we have time. We could use emails to send information, but no one was obliged to read his email to answer before 9 in the morning or after 17 in the afternoon. We can do it, but it's not a duty. So there is a timing design and space design completely integrated of our practice of teaching and managing teaching. And we discover also that we have administrative staff that communicate between them. They have their own information and communication protocols. Academic staff, they have their own information and communication protocols. It's either for students. So the complexity of the system to change. So we have to do something, we call it in French, deconstructive, to understand its kind of audit. How every part of this triangle there is protocols between this different part, but inside every part, they have special protocol of communication. So in March 15th, they told us, you can't come anymore to the university for at least 1 month. And this could be until September. Donc, then the rector invited for an e-meeting with a very special tool, an open source, you know, it's not Zoom, it's blue big button, it's an open source, we use it. It was not really ready. And they told us we have to shift in 1 week to start again teaching, research, administrating, and managing the university. So university was obliged to shift from face-to-face protocol practices to an entire distant informing and communicating protocols and systems. Teaching practice included. So we have to give our lecture, to communicate with the administrative, with the technical staff, and different technical staff, because the technical staff of the department of the faculty is independent of the technical staff of the university. You have the problem of privacy and the problem of security. So it was really a very brutal shifting. And it passed very good. This is what is strange, as if we are less or more ready for this shifting. But it remains a huge decision to say, okay, we will do full distance learning session from March 15 until the end of the year. So very rapidly, we have adopted various kinds of digital facilities. We got Zoom in September 2020. We didn't have Zoom at this time. We used only open sources facilities. And the question of digital transition in education is not new in France, not in our university. We are talking about it since a long time. But we thought that could be done for the 5 years to be achieved in 15 years. We have never imagined that we have to do that in 1 week. So we have to adapt our policies in financial policies, logistical policies, and managerial policies to be adapted to this shifting. And we have to establish a new platform for distant and collaborative working environment. So our atypical university, Mediated, which is experimental university, has to face a new approach or experimental approach. This is how to shift from face-to-face to full distant functioning. So we can say that everything was so easy and well done. As staff members, even if I was also at the same time teaching and managing the faculty, because in France, if you are dean, you have to teach also. So as staff members have to find out solution to adopt them for their lectures. Before having an idea about the experience they are going to live. So if you are in research, we are completely in research experiencing approach. We adapt solution and we will live a real experience to learn, to discover. We have no other real idea about the context and the environment of completely distance learning. And we have to accept and admit that the solution we are adopting for this teaching or this lecture could be evolved and changed the next week or in 1 month or in 3 months. However, I don't know about your institution, but the university institution in France is very old and doesn't really move a lot, very slowly. Everything is programmed a year before. Our teaching program is conceived 4 years before. So we have 4 years. If we have to change something, it would be in 4 years. So, and now in 1 week, we have to change our environment, but also we have to change our mind, accept that the context, the environment we are adopting today could be changed tomorrow. And this huge shifting, cognitive shifting for the staff and for the student. So very rapidly, and everybody accepted it, we have shifted altogether to an open and evolving teaching system. So we complete me in real experience approach. As you can imagine, at the beginning, we don't think a lot about context environment. We have to teach. I'm at home. Students are everywhere, maybe at their parents. Some of them, we adapt some spaces at the university. So have to get in communication with students and to inform them. So all efforts were to provide digital facilities, and we omitted a lot of everything. lot of things about that. So all our efforts, our budget is to ensure good facilities, that every teacher had the facilities, computers, software to teach students. And we have to ensure that students, they have access to internet and they have laptops or something to follow up the lectures. So as I told you, the university is mainly oriented arts and human sciences. So we have a lot of the academic staff that can't master all the digital facilities. So we have to educate also part of our academic staff, even administrative staff. So you have to do lecture for students, but you have to do some tutorial for the staffs. So our effort was to have digital facilities, some tutorial, online tutorial for sure, and ensure the quality of service, good and secure access, because always in France, if we have used blue big button, because blue big button respects the privacy of its users. At the beginning, Zoom has some relation with Facebook and something, so you said you are not allowed to use Zoom. Afterward, Zoom changed his policies, and especially for privacy, and we had access to Zoom. But at the beginning, we didn't have it. So we have the problem of training staffs, training students, training managerial aspects, take care of privacy, take care of psychological aspect, all this together in few weeks. And something we never talk about it, all this was to provide digital tools for communication and information. However, we realized very rapidly that digital communication and information channel is necessary, but it isn't sufficient, especially for the university system, and in particular for our students. And we realized that we gave our lectures, we use all these digital facilities, but these digital facilities was not well adapted to manage, to ensure good and reliable communication protocols between the academic staff and the administrative staff, between students and administrative staff. Very often in the university, students ask for a problem, they go there, and you go there, and I said, this office, you will see. There's no more office, there's function and names and emails and phone numbers and Zoom addresses. Things are, we didn't think about that. We thought at the beginning that having good computer and good internet connection is quite enough. No, it's not quite enough. And training people to change their tools by using laptop and internet, good, but it's not enough. They have to learn to communicate, to inform, to explain, to precise the information, to be gentle with people, because with the internet, we are in general not very sympathetic. So the problem of communication between teachers themselves, the problem, the communication between administrative themselves, there is no meeting room, how to manage, who will ask for the meeting, who has the right to do it, who doesn't have the right, and the very huge problem. That's what communication between students themselves and interaction between students themselves when giving a lecture. It's a huge part of knowledge acquisition. In fact, we think when I gave my lecture, I talked alone. Very often I was very happy of myself. It's the case exactly now in my contribution. I'm talking to alone. I don't know if you are following, if you are interested or not. It was the case with student. I don't know if there's some knowledge acquisition or not. This problem is important. Another problem is I have no idea the communication between students. When you give a lecture in face-to-face, I see some student looking for another one, so I can realize he has a question or he is disagree. All these small things of communication, we don't have it in distance learning. And we didn't think about it before adapting the digital facilities. We are very stressed to learn and to master our digital facilities, and we omitted a lot of those simple and intuitive things, communicate, which are information and communication between the actors of the university. During this communication and interaction process, a huge part of the knowledge and know-how, academic know-how, were transferred one to other and to our student. When a student go into university, walk around the university, look at the administration, go in this classroom, see the teacher, the other student, there's a lot of know-how, how to manage time, how to manage communication, how to manage space, how to interact. All these things have disappeared in a full distant learning session. So in a different way, we have shifted from a completely quantitative management approach of teaching to, from qualitative management approach or teaching management to quantitative teaching management. So every lecture was very subjective. Every lecture depends on the teacher. The teacher is processing his lecture in a real time with a complete qualitative reasoning. The quality of the classrooms, quality of student, the quality of his lecture, the quality of acquisition, of reaction, of interaction. So it was very subjective, but very qualitative. And we have to make decision within his own classroom with 20 students. He has no feedback, internet or nothing. So, and he has to decide himself that the information was transmitted or not to the student. So the approach was very qualitative, and a good teacher has good information and knowledge how to manage his lecture. The good teacher now is behind his laptop. And I don't know about your institution. In France, I don't have the right to ask students to put on their camera. They have the right to put off their camera and micro, and we can't require them to put on the camera. From time to time, we can ask them to put their micro, but if the student doesn't want to put on the micro, he can write on the chat. So a teleteaching is you have the teacher talking alone as I'm doing now, and behind I have some logo. Some student could be put on the camera or not. So my lecture is managed in post-session. That's I'm giving my lecture, and have some reaction. The chat at the end of the lecture. I can go to the platforms, get all the data, to process all this data, to extract some educational or strategic data. And I don't see the student. I don't see how they are behaving. I have only formal data that the student left on the chat or by email. And the approach becomes more and more quantitative. How many students attend the lecture? How many students ask questions? How many reaction? How many chat? How many? And they said 80% of students were here. Within 80%, 50% asked question, 30% sent their homework at time, 2 days later on. Everything becomes quantitative. I'm not saying that qualitative is better from quantitative, but it's a huge shifting for all the staff, even for the students, to shift from qualitative reasoning, very real-time, very context-driven, to quantitative reasoning. And post-session, so asynchronous evaluation. So during the confinement, the first year, last year, we lived a kind of panic, especially with politics. It's the case today. So until May 2, I can't give any lecture at the university. I can do any assessment in presence. Everything should be face-to-face. After May 2, I have no idea. So we have to retrieve all information all the time. What we have tried to do, how many times. It was a kind of panic. Information, if you listen to, so all information coming from the ministry get information from the first ministry from the presidents. So we are dealing with very fuzzy and volatile information. Dealing with fuzzy information, that means stress, that means impulsive management approach. So every day have to manage courses, relation management in different way. And we don't have enough experience behind us to make a high quality decision. So we realized that the university system, the system of the university, has to change. We have to shift for a tele-teaching systems or hybrid teaching systems. When you say my way of teaching is shifting at the same time that the system in which I'm in is shifting, it's a high level of complexity to manage. And at the same time, students have to follow up their lectures, their courses, and to get their diploma at the end of the year. Last year, we have been locked down in March. The advantage, we knew our students because we met them before. But we have never asked them if they had the required devices to be in a distant session. So we had to contact all the students, the administrative staff and the academic staff make it. And we have also, because our university gave laptops to the students and we still giving laptops to students. They don't have enough facilities, and we give them also facilities to have good connection at home. So in the first, we are giving lecture, and we don't have, if the student can follow our lecture with good environment, technological environment, if they have good connection. We did the necessary very rapidly, but at the end, when we do the assessment, we realize that we have omitted huge things, especially in Paris. Living in Paris is very expensive, and a student can't have a huge flat. If some students are living with their parents, they can have their own space to follow up the lectures. So the social context, something that we have completely omitted, and we are dealing with now. And just before I started the conference, I was in a meeting, and they told me we have one of our best students, he was student and working in a restaurant, in some shops, and since a year he has no work. So there's the economic situation is very good to ensure digital tools to adapt our way of teaching, but the environment, the space in which our students are living, the time that our students have to manage, and our colleague and our staff has completely shifted also. And this is a huge challenge for us. Always during the COVID and the panic, we were teacher before COVID, and during COVID, we becomes crisis manager and digital transition manager also. And we are not good to be crisis manager, and we are not good at all to be digital transition manager. We are teacher, we are researchers in very focused topics and domains. But the question is, would crisis be back? It was back. It is back now. So our management was very impulsive management. It's what to find solution for the time last year. No one wanted to dress a politics for the future. We were in crisis management. We were not in a prospective approach. And the fuzzy question remains, will we back a day to face-to-face or not? Can we talk about hybrid teaching, that part of the lecture could be in face-to-face and part in distance? Or should be entirely teleteaching? Which systems to be adopted today and tomorrow? And the huge question, the university as traditional institution would be able to follow up all this shifting? Something I don't see the time, maybe I'm late. Oh wait, I'm very late. When we talk about student, when you are in a huge city like Paris, where life is very expensive and the condition of life difficult, a lot of students have appreciated a lot to be in teleteaching. So our student who come to university, but now our administration think that we can have students that are not living in Paris, even not in France. So the whole system has to be adapted for this kind of new students. And in this context, hybrid teaching couldn't be ensured. So we have to do face-to-face and in parallel teleteaching. So face-to-face, one of the advantage of this confinement is no more exclusive. The university couldn't say we have only face-to-face teaching. This is a good point. This panic also generated a lot of meetings lot of meeting, especially for the administrative and academic staff. And it was in a way or another way, a kind of indirect training for crisis management and digital transition. So in 2020, as I said, students, we knew our students, we knew the staff, all the staff members, administrative, academic, and so on. So we can, knowing these people, we can feeling, this question of feeling. I feel that I have to do this. I feel he understood. I feel he able to do. Because we know the people. And we were able to adapt some solutions. Things have changed. But before this changement, and because we feel each other and we knew each other, most faculty at the university insist to maintain the face-to-face protocol at the beginning. And the only problem that people talked about was very technology-oriented. They don't talk about the problem of context, environment, communication, students. And if we could have good connection, high debit connection, good laptops, the problem are resolved. And most proposed approaches we have suggested have completely misestimated the importance of informal information and communication protocol shifting. From in France, every year in June, July, and September is the period of recruitment, student and staffs. So in the fall 2020, we have new staff, completely new students, even in masters, a new academic colleague. We don't know them. So the system of knowing, so this means that solution done by has been adapted because we knew people, we feel them, we can't adapt the system. We have only information, we have only formal information, we have only data to deal with to adapt solution. And this was a real shock for us because first confinement was okay. Second confinement is quite different. We are really in a distance environment. We don't know physically each other. We can't feel physically each other's. So we shifted from knowing, feeling, adapting to e-knowing, e-feeling, e-adapting to open data processing. We have only data to deal with, to say, I know him, I don't know him. Yes, we have some Zoom meetings very, very often, but as I say, very often people, they don't put on their camera. It's very hard also to learn our cognitive system to say, this name is this people, we heard somebody. It's very hard to follow up. So all our strategy have become data processing driven. So informal information is no more present. Everything will be dealt with formal information, with data. So our management approach becomes completely statistics and data analytic driven approach with some predefined cluster driven strategy. So our triangle has changed. Instead of communicating directly in real time, in real spaces with students, we have only data to deal and to check the platform, to check the mails, the hashtag of the student. We have to do some data visualization. The word that using students in the chat, they are very, not very. So everything like that. So come back to the conclusion. I'm looking, I will be good, I think. Let's start with the positive conclusion of this experience on our teaching practice, which has become for us, teaching practice during confinement has become on itself a research project. And we organize workshop now about our new strategy in research and education. And more than ever, research and education have been together. So for a huge big city like Paris, we have less time spent in transportation. So we have, if you can imagine, if you don't come to university, you have at least between staff, student, and so on, we are about 26,000 people in the campus every day. The campus is outside the university, and sometimes we have some students spend 3 hours to arrive to the university. In average, it's about 2 hours a day transportation. In one day, you have the economy of 52,000 hours a day. It's a huge time. For this region, I say in the back, staff and students are more productive. We have at least 30% more production, but we have a lot of time. We have saved a lot of time in transportation. Transportation in big city like Paris is very stressful. To be in time, the problem of insecurity is the problem of violence. So people arrive to the campus, they are already aggressed or tired. People at home, they are in full energy. So good things for us. They have better social life. I want to bring children to the student. You can, especially for ladies. Before, ladies were forbidden of meeting after 5 or before 9. Now they can go. They will be available in half an hour. So better social life, better professional life, and better nutrition. In France, we left home at 9, we come back at 7 in the evening, and we eat anything on better nutrition, better health, better condition, and especially less pollutions. Just for our campus is about 52,000 hours transportation. Imagine whole Paris. So they could be in distant activity, have something positive. However, this experience creates new dilemma to deal with. We have to face new communication cultures. We have a huge problem of time managing approaches. The question of privacy paradigm. What is privacy, what's not? Now, as I say, it's very often during a very important meeting with ministry, with the director, we can hear some children crying and we accept it and no problem. We can hear outside, we can somebody talking, we can see a dog, very often there's dogs in at home. So the question of privacy, which privacy, which is not, for student, for staff, or a lot of things to learn at the same time. So we have a lot of things to learn, how to manage our time, our spaces, and new knowledge transfer protocols shifting from qualitative reasoning to quantitative reasoning is a very important issue. And what does this mean? This means we have to shift to a new teaching philosophy. In few words, we have to reinvent face-to-face learning. And this is the challenge. Distant learning allowed us to learn more about the implicit in our teaching environment, the classroom, the social aspect of the classroom, social relation between students, academic staff, administrative staff. So they have frontier now between them, and we have to break all these frontiers. And we realized that knowledge transfer was in very special environment and different contexts. Now the context and the environment have changed. So also knowledge transfer has changed also. And we learned that all actors, technical, administrative, academic, and students are involved in this shifting. So reinventing face-to-face teaching is a matter of teaching system re-engineering. This is my last conclusion, and I will be in time. I hope I will be in time. Before COVID, we have a lot of meetings, negotiating, tutorial, to convince colleagues, administrative, politics, about the integration of more digital tools in our environment, in our research environment, in our teaching environment. The issue was how to digitize the institution. In few months after the confinement last year, the paradigm have completely changed. We have 2 meetings last week, and the issue was how to humanize the e-institution. How to make all this tele-teaching, distant teaching, distant management, managing distance communication a little bit human. How to humanize this environment. This is the issue. So if we do some hybrid teaching, some tele-teaching, how can we make it more humanized? How to learn about students, they have learned and their condition. We have a huge psychological problem within the students. A lot of students come back home. They have a lot of burnout, especially for foreigner students who come to France, come to Paris, living alone in a small room, about 9 or 10 or 12 square meters. They are alone. Farms and families, they don't have work. They have some communication problem. They have to contact with professor. You know, when a student comes to see you, you look on his eyes, you have half of his discourse. We don't have this anymore. So how to humanize the e-institution is the issue for us today.